Hi, I'm Jessie. Recently, I've been going through a rough patch. It all began when my parents had a fight. I was sitting in my room when I heard them shout, "We'll run out of money soon! Why are you so useless?" "It's not my fault there are problems at work. You could have supported me instead of yelling." Listening to it was unbearable, so I went for a walk. I called Peter and asked him to join me. Peter was my boyfriend. He was amazing. His family was rich, and he was the captain of the football team and the most popular guy in school. We met in a cafe. I'm so sick of my parents. Dad has some problems at work and we need to break up. I thought I'd misheard. What did you say? I'm breaking up with you. You're not good enough for me. I thought it was a joke, but he looked serious. I didn't understand anything. Peter was about to leave, but I stopped him. "You can't do this to me." "I won't change my mind." He walked away, and I was left sitting there, completely shocked. The next day at school was a real nightmare. I heard students giggle behind my back. A lot of girls liked Peter. They used to be jealous of me, but now they gloated. The last class that day was chemistry lab. I was sitting at my desk and staring out the window sadly. I didn't even hear what the teacher was saying until he started yelling. "Rob, if you don't get your grades up, you'll be expelled. You don't know chemistry at all, and yet you're always skipping classes." The biggest school bully was being reprimanded again. Rob was a real headache for all the teachers. "Sit down next to Jessie. You'll be working in pairs." We mixed the reagents together but did the tasks separately. At some point, I noticed that Rob was slowing down. He was staring at a notebook and not writing anything. The teacher noticed it too and started yelling again. I felt sorry for Rob. I scribbled a solution on a piece of paper and quietly handed it to him. "Thank you." When the teacher checked our work, he was very surprised. Maybe you're not completely hopeless." I didn't go to school the next day. I spent it lying in bed and feeling depressed. My parents were too busy arguing again and didn't pay attention to me. So I skipped almost a week of school before my best friend Tina suddenly came over. "You can't keep doing that. You should go out and get to know some guys." "Why?" "Because there is plenty of fish in the sea. We'll find you someone better." She made me change my clothes and go for a walk. Tina flirted with all the guys we met. Then she called some friends of hers and invited them to a club. There were several single guys among them. "This is Jessie." Tina was trying so hard to set me up with everyone that I felt awkward. As a result, I left at the first opportunity. I only felt worse by the end of the evening. Now I was sure that I didn't want anyone but Peter. But Tina didn't give up that easily. Soon, she bought us tickets to a concert of my favorite band. Peter had promised we would go to it before he broke up with me. "I'm not going." Tina put her hands on her hips. "Is this because of Peter? Forget about him and just have fun." In the end, she managed to convince me to come. We arrived half an hour before the concert and there were already a lot of people. "Take a look at the boys. Maybe someone will catch your eye." I rolled my eyes. I was so sick of listening to such nonsense. "Oh, look, there's Dean. He's really cool." To be honest, Dean was quite handsome. We went to the same school. He was constantly performing at school concerts. Sometimes he did stand-ups, and sometimes he even sang. Tina dragged me toward him. She made me so mad. "Stop trying to set me up with everyone." Luckily, someone called Dean after a couple of minutes and he left. Before I could relax, I saw Peter nearby. He was talking to some girl and looked happy. I felt terrible. Had he already moved on? I was in no mood for dancing and decided to leave. But Tina wouldn't let me go. "What did we agree on? Stop moping. Look at all the guys around." I already have a new boyfriend, okay? Of course, Tina didn't believe me. I got angry and did something crazy. I grabbed the first guy walking by and kissed him. Only at the very last moment did I notice that it was Rob. Damn it! He had also come to the concert. Tina was shocked. My adrenaline was going through the roof, but I tried to stay calm. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Peter looking in our direction. I got an idea. Before anyone came to their senses, I dragged Rob to the side. What was that just now? "I have an offer for you. Pretend to be my boyfriend and I will help you with your studies, okay?" Rob was a bad guy and girls usually liked that. So he had a lot of admirers. I was hoping that Peter would get jealous, regret his decision, and crawl back to me. Rob didn't hesitate for long. I agree. He didn't leave my side during the whole concert. I noticed Peter looking at us. He was no longer smiling and looked gloomy. It seemed like my plan had worked. After the concert, Rob offered to walk me home. We ran into Peter at the exit. "Have you found a new boyfriend already?" I smiled sweetly. "My personal life doesn't concern you anymore." Rob and I squeezed past him and went outside. At home, I tossed and turned in my bed for a long time and could not fall asleep. Peter would definitely be mine. I almost overslept the next morning. I quickly threw textbooks into my bag and suddenly saw a flash drive. It definitely wasn't mine. What was it doing in my bag? I had no time to think about it and ran to school. Tina was waiting for me there. "Finally! Tell me, when did you start dating the biggest bully at school?" "Well, they say opposites attract." At that moment, the bell rang, and I went into the classroom. From that day on, Rob and I posed as a couple. I tried to walk where Peter could see us. Meanwhile, he was always hanging out with that girl I'd seen at the concert. I was jealous and could only grit my teeth with anger. One day, I accidentally overheard Peter asking her out. They decided to go to a cafe. Of course, I immediately dragged Rob there. We sat down at the next table. I flirted loudly and went out of my way to get Peter to notice us. It worked. He hardly listened to that girl and kept looking in our direction the entire time. I was hoping Peter would come up to us, but that didn't happen. Soon, they were gone. I guess the disappointment was written on my face because Rob tried to comfort me. "Don't worry. He's a jerk anyway." It didn't get any easier after that. I spent the evening being miserable at home. Then I decided to write an essay and suddenly noticed the flash drive on the table. I had completely forgotten about it. I felt curious, so I put it into the computer. There were several audio files on it of some guy singing cheesy songs. He had such a beautiful voice that I couldn't stop listening to them. I googled his pseudonym but only found a half-empty social media account. He was probably just starting his career and wasn't famous yet. It was still unclear how the flash drive had ended up in my bag. Maybe someone at the concert had accidentally dropped it there, or had it been planted on purpose. At the concert, I had been with Tina and Rob the whole time. Wait, Dean had been there too! He could sing! Maybe it was his flash drive? Before going to bed, I listened to the song several times. The words were so touching, I felt like the song had been written for me. In the end, I couldn't help but set one of the songs as my ringtone. I wanted to talk to Dean at school the next day, but he was sick and didn't come. After school, Rob and I went to the stadium. I did the tasks for him and watched the game at the same time. It was football practice. Peter kept looking at me, getting distracted all the time and missing balls. "What's the matter with you today? We have a competition coming up." "Back off." As a result, Peter got mad, passed the ball to another player, and left. I was glad. If he was reacting like that, then he definitely still cared about me. I was finishing my assignment when my mom suddenly called me. While we were talking, Rob was giving me a weird look. "Do you like such music?" At first, I didn't understand what he was talking about, but then I realized that he meant my ringtone. I heard it recently and now I'm hooked. The next day, I came to school and noticed that people were staring at me again. Was it because of Rob? But then, Tina came up to me and showed me a video. Peter was dumping me in it, and you could hear every word he said. The video went viral. Do you think Peter sent it to everyone? I didn't want to believe it, but who else could it be? Was he such a jerk that he had decided to embarrass me because of Rob? Everyone was laughing at me all day. "Hey, Jessie, are you good enough yet?" The girls kept teasing me, and it was terribly infuriating. "You think you're so great, huh?" Everyone is afraid of Rob, so they quickly left me alone. I was going to tutor him after school, but then I noticed Dean in the hallway. "Did you accidentally lose a flash drive with your songs?" "What songs? I like to sing, but I don't write music." I was stunned. So the flash drive wasn't his? But then whose? "Well, are we going to study?" While we were doing that, I couldn't stop thinking about the songs. I didn't even hear Rob calling me at first. Sorry, I was just so sure those were Dean's songs. "Is it that important for you to find out who that singer is?" He gave me a weird look again. That was when I remembered that concert. I had immediately thought of Dean, but Rob had been there too. I was beginning to realize something. Is this flash drive yours? Rob looked shy. It was so unlike him. Both the flash drive and the songs. I was holding it when you kissed me and accidentally dropped it. I'd looked for it afterward, but it turned out it fell into your bag. It was crazy. Rob was a songwriter? But why didn't you tell anyone about it? It's so cool. Cool? On the contrary, I have a reputation as a bad guy. Imagine what would happen if everyone found out I sang cheesy songs. Nonsense! You have a real talent that needs to be developed. Rob disagreed and made me promise to keep his secret. At school, we kept pretending to be a couple. We were walking in the yard one day when we suddenly saw Peter nearby. He was hugging that girl. That made me so mad. I was angry with myself, but I couldn't help it. After the girl had left, I felt awful again. I realized it was then or never. I quickly approached Peter. I still love you, and I'm ready to forgive you. Let's start over. Before he could say anything, I kissed him. It seemed that spontaneously kissing guys was becoming a habit of mine. Rob tried to stop me, but I pushed him away. After the kiss, Peter looked at me in confusion and stayed silent. My heart was beating like crazy. And then he suddenly kissed me. Jessie, I'm sorry, but I'm running late right now. Let's talk tomorrow. I was over the moon. Hooray! It had worked. He had kissed me and agreed to talk, so things would get better. I wanted to tell someone about it, so I called Tina. Peter and I are a couple again. What about Rob? Anyway, I wouldn't be so happy if I were you. Have you already forgotten how much he hurt you? I didn't want to listen to her. I came back home in a great mood, but soon it was ruined. Unlike me, Dad came home from work upset. They want to fire me. You said you solved all the problems. When will this end? They started fighting again and I locked myself in my room. The next day, I came to school feeling excited. I met Peter before class and immediately realized something was wrong. He looked at me coldly and seemed indifferent. Yesterday's kiss was a mistake. Nothing can happen between us. I'm sorry. I couldn't believe it. He betrayed me for the second time? But why? Our classmates were standing nearby and they quickly spread the news. Everyone started laughing at me again, but Rob stood up for me. I went out into the yard at recess and he came with me. Whatever, I won't bother Peter again. That's right, there are a lot of other guys around. Who would want to date me? I'm a laughing stock. I want to. I've liked you for a long time, Jessie. His confession shocked me. I couldn't believe my ears. I thought love was a weakness, just like music. So I stayed silent. But since we're pretending to be a couple anyway, let's date for real. I wanted to forget Peter, and Rob turned out to be a good guy. So I didn't hesitate long and soon agreed. Rob was constantly preparing surprises for me, giving me various gifts, and being a great boyfriend in general. One day, we went to a karaoke cafe and I asked him to sing. Come on, there are so many people here. Everyone should know about his talent. One day, I couldn't help myself and broke my promise. I came to the school radio studio and found Dean there. Play this song. It's Rob singing. My favorite song started to play in the entire school when we were standing in the hallway. Dean announced the singer's name. I watched Rob's reaction and saw him suddenly turn pale. Why would you do that? I told you not to tell anyone. I was about to answer when Peter ran up to us. He pushed Rob. I had never seen him so angry. Not only are you ruining my life, but now you've stolen my song? They almost got into a fight, but were separated by our classmates. I didn't get it. What do you mean Rob stole your song? That song had been written by Peter. I work with a band. Peter recently contacted me and told me about his music. Then we met at a concert and he brought a flash drive with the recordings of the songs. I listened to them and recommended Peter to a production company. Now, his first song is being prepared for an official release. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. But why did Rob lie to me? Peter suddenly took my hand and pulled me away from prying eyes. Rob is a real scumbag. I never told you about it, but my father is a tyrant. He thinks that boys shouldn't make music, and I should play football instead. That was why I had been hiding my passion for a long time. But that's not all. My father tries to control my every move. He found out about you recently. He was furious that I was dating a girl from a poor family and demanded we break up. Of course, I refused. So he started causing problems for your dad. He works at my father's company. He threatened he would get you expelled as well. I had to give up, but I didn't stop loving you. I just had to hide it. But my father hired Rob to follow me around and paid him. It was Rob who had filmed me breaking up with you and sent the video to everyone in school. I was speechless. I put the flash drive in your bag. We bumped into each other on the way out of the concert, remember? I thought that you would recognize my voice, hear the words, and understand everything. So that was why it had felt like those songs had been written for me, but it hadn't even occurred to me that it was Peter singing. Why did Rob say he was the singer, though? He really likes you. I saw the way he looked at you a long time ago. He probably wanted to impress you. Such news made my head spin. I'm tired of being afraid and depending on my father. I'm sorry that I hurt you. Let's date again. You can probably guess what I said. I loved him too much to stay angry. Moreover, Peter was not to blame for anything. We started dating again. Naturally, Rob told Peter's father about us. He got angry and made sure I got expelled. But you know what? Peter transferred to another school with me. He left the football team and released a song. Then, his father got my dad fired. My parents finally decided to divorce after that. At first, I was very worried about it all. But now, I think it was maybe for the best. Peter is rapidly gaining popularity. He even earned his first money. We live the way we want to and don't depend on our parents. And what is your relationship with your parents like? Tell us in the comments down below.
Hey squad! Like to see your life in comics? Stories that are so embarrassing that even friends do not know about them. Don't say you don't have such ones. They belong on the Anon Please channel. Check it out! Click here!